Welcome to Coffee with the Mayor. I'm Deb Vitrelli, and we are broadcasting live from the top of Tampa Bay in beautiful downtown Oldsmar with our host, Oldsmar Mayor Eric Seidel. These segments are featured each morning following Oldsmar City Council meeting for the community and stakeholders and businesses, etc. So, good morning, Mayor.
Good morning. How are you?
Awesome. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. So before we begin, we encourage our viewing audience to submit any questions they may have during this segment by commenting on our Facebook live feed, and we'll do our very best to get your answers. Just in case we don't, you can always email mayor-seidel at eseidel@myoldsmar.com regarding anything we discussed today. So, Coffee with the Mayor was developed by you to keep our residents, businesses, and community partners informed on highlights from last night's council meeting. Let's start with Citizens Open Forum. Were there any interesting comments?
There were a couple of interesting speakers worth noting.
Okay.
But before I say that, we get into that, we had, I don't know whether this building is cursed, but we have an issue with sound sometimes. If you've listened to our broadcast, there's been a little delays here and there. But we had a problem last night, so we couldn't stream live.
Oh, dear. But
we did get it recorded, and it should be up sometime today. It was like it used to be when you had to wait a day or two. So that happened. But we had a couple of folks there worth noting. We had some citizens there who were expressing their concerns about St. Pete Clearwater Airport and noise that's coming from the aircrafts. They changed their flight patterns a couple of years ago. And for anybody who lives over there, it's an issue, and it's become more and more of an issue. Andrew, our Vice Mayor, Andrew Knapp, is on their sound task force. I don't know if it's the actual abatement board, but of course they haven't been meeting because of COVID. They just started back. So he's going to dig into it and see if there might be an opportunity for us as a council maybe to make pass a resolution or something along that lines to try to get it addressed, to see if they can't move it a little bit more over the outfall canal or through the commercial corridor. And so, if you went down the commercial corridor, Forest Lakes, some of the citizens feel who've worked on the problem that it might have a bigger impact. So we heard from them. And then, of course, for those of you who have been keeping track, you know that we are changing our waste and recycling collection provider. I don't know if I hold this up with that. There you go. All right. Yeah. Look at that. My hands are too high. There's a delay. Okay. Turn it this way. Anyhow, but they were there last night, Orion Waste Solutions, talking about the changeover. It takes place October 1st. And I know they were just out meeting with citizens in Gull Air just to kind of answer questions. Here's the important things. Your waste, if on the residential side, the city actually owns those containers. And so that's not going to change. And then your day of collection's not going to change. So you don't have to do anything on the residential side. Commercially, they've been out changing the containers. And so it seems to be going pretty well so far. But October 1st, the big switchover. And probably be a few, mistakes along the way, but we'll get through it. And we look forward to working with those folks. So that's pretty much the highlights of the guest speakers, the impromptus.
Yeah, they're always fun.
They're always fun.
So the city was recognized last night as having the highest scoring government certification as a gold level city by the Florida Green Building Coalition for 2020. And can you tell us a little bit more about this achievement?
Sure. It's exciting because I think most might remember we've achieved the level of a silver level city by the Florida Green Building Coalition, and we've maintained that for a while. We were one of the first cities in the area to achieve it, but it shows our commitment to being as green as possible. It gets into a variety of different actual actions in terms of our buildings, our practices, certainly being as sustainable as we can possibly be. The process is actually, we have to submit a great deal of documentation, which involves all of the departments because it seems to touch everyone. And I think what's exciting about it is, as you noted, we were recognized in this round of submissions. I think the submissions are like, you update it every 5 years. And we had the highest score in the state.
Nice.
And so that speaks volumes. And Ashley Painter, who is, spearheads that as our sustainability coordinator, just does a terrific job for the city. And I think this is another interesting note. So in the history of scores, with all cities in Florida, we also received the 3rd highest score ever.
Wow.
So with there being over 400 cities in the state of Florida,
No doubt, that's kind of an accomplishment.
That's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah.
So we're excited about it.
We became gold last year, right? In 2020.
In 2020 is when it actually happened, but we finally got all the information. So we got the award. Which, by the way, they put it on a wood piece that is sustainable.
Oh, good. Recycled wood.
It is, actually. Which I thought was kind of funny.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, congrats to Ashley. I know she worked very hard on that as well as the city. So, city staff presented their annual Local Mitigation Strategy Report to City Council. Was this report accepted? It
was accepted. And for those of you who are aware, this is a program that has to do with the Community Rating System program, which has been around since '92. And part of what it does when it comes to flood insurance, and certainly all the changes that have taken place in flood insurance, you see people, I run into them talking about they now have to get flood insurance they didn't before, and that has to do with FEMA remapping, and they do it every so many years. But the city works on this program, and it's a collective effort with other cities in the county where we implement certain strategies. It might have to do with zoning. It might have to do in the protocols that we use in terms of enforcing code, to follow up on code, another mitigating strategies such as assisting citizens in areas, whether it's public or private property, with flooding issues. And it's just a whole host. And the report's online.
Yes.
If you go online to the meeting and you can read it, it's pretty extensive. But what it does is it lends itself and translates into reductions when you accomplish a certain level scoring as a city. And so for flood insurance premiums with properties that are in the special flood hazard areas, which a great deal of our city is, it translates into a 20% discount. And so it can be quite significant. And for properties within the city outside the special flood zones, it's a 10% discount. So it's very important that we maintain that. Our staff is looking at other programs every 5 years, and that one you recertify.
Right.
They go through every year and do submissions, but you recertify every 5 years. So we're working on things now that we hope will help us in the future, because unfortunately those rates are going up.
Yeah.
So we did accept the plan, and you can read that plan, like I said, online.
Yeah. I think it's under emergency management.
Or you can go to the meeting agenda, and it's an attachment.
True. Yeah.
So you can do it that way.
It's everywhere.
Well, that's it. Go ahead, be fancy.
Yeah, so also city staff was busy last night. They presented an update on the Douglas Road projects to City Council. What updates were provided for that?
Well, it was quite an extensive update, and it was good. I think most people probably know this by now. If they don't, they should. That hurrah, the Burbank extension is open. And for those of you who don't know where that is, we're talking about the road right next, Burbank's right next to the McDonald's on Tampa Road. And it now cuts all the way through over to Douglas. And so it's a nice, another brand new road that connects the industrial section for all the folks who work back there, and for the business owners back there who get supplies in and out.
Yeah.
It's another means to get back there. And that project took forever.
Oh.
That was the longest project. And let me explain why. It wasn't the city, it wasn't the county. It was at CSX, because we had to get them to open a railroad crossing. It literally takes a long time to do. You have to close other ones. It's a trade-off. And then this, we've been waiting for them for quite some time to finally come through and do their emergency arms that go up and so forth. So we got that open, and the report we got last night on the phases on Douglas Road. If you've driven on Douglas Road, you know it's really a horrible road.
Yeah.
And it is by far our busiest industrial road in the city, and businesses back there rely on it. there's multiple phases that we're doing, but I'm just going to go to the end game of what it'll look like when it's done. It will be a new 3-lane road so that there is a turning lane all the way down the center. Which,
Oh, wonderful.
for those trucks that come in
No
there,
doubt.
and it's dangerous. I mean, there's not that, it's 2-lane now.
Yeah.
There'll also be from Stevens up to Racetrack Road. That's going to be an extension of the trail.
Oh,
So it will allow for, pedestrian traffic, bicycling, that kind of stuff that we don't really have over there now because it's ditches.
yeah.
On the other side, it'll actually end up being a sidewalk and won't be the full trail. But it's well underway. It's a big project. It's being done in phases. So we got an update on that. If you want to get more detail on it, I'd encourage people to go in and look at the report we were given. But I think the end game on that is like 2022 is kind of what we're hoping.
It's wonderful to hear that because I used to work on Douglas Road, and it was a nightmare you had to go all the way down to Racetrack, cut down, come back up just to go grab lunch somewhere.
Yeah.
You know?
And it spreads the traffic out too, right?
Yeah, it
so
does.
People leaving, going to lunch or going to work. It's not all coming from either Commerce or Racetrack. So now there's another option. So it should be good.
Sharing the love. Cool.
Sharing the love. We were excited to get that project finally done.
Yeah.
It was like 16 years for Burbank.
I believe it.
It was brutal.
It's been a while.
It was brutal.
A public hearing was held to adopt Resolution 2021-18, establishing a millage rate of 4.05 mils for fiscal year 2021-22, and to adopt a Resolution 2021-19, establishing a budget for fiscal year 2021-22. Were these adopted?
Both of them were adopted.
Wonderful.
It was a second and final reading of them, so it's official. Once again, the city has not had an increase to our millage rate, our tax rate. It's been like 16 years now.
Yeah.
And so that's something that we're all proud of. I mean, we recognize that people's taxes go up because the value of their homes go up.
Sure.
But we haven't increased the rate that we tax out, which is a really good thing. We passed the budget. It was a $47.2 million budget for the 21-22 fiscal year. And so that went off without a hitch. The thing is, when you watch these meetings and you don't see a lot of debate sometimes, especially when it comes to budget, it's worth noting for our citizens that we have workshops on these budgets. So with the exception of what adjustments might get made from the workshop to the time we actually do the appropriations, those budgets have been debated and discussed for multiple hours. So it's kind of like when you get into the council meeting where we actually approve it, it's pretty anticlimactic because we've already gone through all those discussions and debates. And of course, those are public meetings as well. They're workshops, though, where we have meetings that are dedicated just purely to going through the budget. And they're a lot of fun to go watch if you've never done one. I mean,
It is interesting.
they're not really a lot.
Just trying to pump it up a little.
That was my sarcasm.
That's sarcasm.
But they're all there. They're recorded, and but it did pass, so it's all good.
Good. Good to hear. Well, consideration was made to approve the business assistance partnership agreement with the Upper Tampa Bay Chamber of Commerce for fiscal year 2021-22. Was this approved?
It was approved.
Good news.
It is good news. I'll tell you what, our chamber does an amazing job.
Yeah.
You know, we do a funding of $15,000 a year as a city towards the chamber, and they give us back a lot of different considerations on some membership stuff and other things that they do for us. But I have to tell you, the job that they do for this city truly is just amazing. When I talk to other mayors in areas and I talk about our chamber, they're just amazed at what the working relationship is. And of course, we know about the events that they put on.
Oh, yeah.
Like Oldsmar Days, everyone always assumes because we are a major sponsor of it and we're a partner in it, people think we're putting it on as a city, as a chamber. And they don't get enough credit for the events they do. But I'll tell you something that really sticks out to me that's really worth noting for our citizens, and I mentioned it last night, is that during the pandemic, our business community, our city, our staff, we repurposed, and we must have called every one of our businesses, at least tried to call them a minimum of 3 times during that period to see how they're doing, what they're doing, try to educate them on what programs there might be for them, especially if they were getting shut down. And our chamber did the exact same thing, and it was a real partnership in it. And it's funny, the CARES grant that the county set up,
Right.
because the county did a really good job in trying to help our businesses get through it. So there were small grants, like $5,000, and they had a couple different, a couple different versions of them. But when you look at the map that came out, that the county put out, that showed precisely pin drops of where those grants went to help businesses, you look at Oldsmar and they're all over the place.
Wow, I never knew that.
And it's not so much that I'm excited that we had to take money. What I'm excited is that the communications between the chamber and the city to our businesses, because I spoke to a bunch of folks who didn't know about it, and it wasn't huge money, but it was one of those things, let's just get everybody through the shutdown.
Right.
And it's why we didn't have the huge losses of business, if you think about it. Almost all of our businesses reopened, and maybe some that were struggling couldn't make it.
Yeah.
But and I credit the chamber with a lot of that. So yes, it passed, and we're glad that they're our partners. They do a terrific job, and of course the second Fridays have taken off, and it's a good economic development driver of having people get accustomed to coming to downtown to enjoy themselves and socialize and be good neighbors with everybody. So hats off to them.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to. They take over Celebrate Oldsmar this year.
They do. It's going to be in November.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is smart.
It is.
It's really smart because the weather normally when we put it on, it's so bad. I mean, it's gorgeous out there, but you know how many times we've had to cancel the event because of rain?
Yeah.
The history of that.
Past 5 years.
Originally, it was the fireworks of 4th of July. It got rained out so many times, and Safety Harbor does fireworks. Yeah. Everyone knows that. So we moved it to Labor Day. We tried it there, and it was there for quite a few years. People really liked it, but we kept getting rained out.
Yeah.
And we moved it later and later, and the pandemic came. And, with the city putting on so many micro events, like movies in the park and, all these different things that we're doing, it really made sense for the chamber to take over that event because they specialize in putting on big events.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be in November. It's going to be nice, good weather. So I'm excited about that.
Good to hear. Yeah, I can't wait for the parade.
The parade.
They're going to have a parade again.
We'll have a parade again.
Maybe it'd be like Macy's Day. It's Thanksgiving to Thanksgiving. Why not?
Why? You know why? Because everyone loves a parade.
Oh, of course. So any other key items or actions from the council meeting or announcements?
Well, just a couple things that I'll touch on. One, I really wanted to thank ABC Action News.
Oh, yeah.
Because they did such an amazing job this past Friday of covering the city. For those of you who didn't see it, I'd encourage you to go online and Google Good Morning Oldsmar from ABC Action News. And they did stories on all kinds of different events, activities, amenities that we have here in the city. It was really, really very nice. And Jillian Ramos, who is a local citizen here, who's a producer, she was kind of a driving force in it. There's no lie. I mean, she's a little biased. She was actually the last Little Miss Oldsmar.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I'm glad she brought her trophy out.
She brought her trophy out. She had to dust it up. But so anyhow, I just want to make a point of thanking them for really showcasing the city and all the staff and you who spent a lot of time working on it. It was a real success, and we now have a lot of great new footage that we can use to showcase the city, and so we appreciate them. The last thing that I have before we get into if there's any questions, I just want to. Last night we had a moment of silence and sent prayer for Lieutenant Ashley White.
Oh, that's nice.
Who is the Palm Harbor firefighter who got struck by a vehicle while on a call yesterday. And so I have spoken with their fire department, and she's been through surgery. It sounds like she might have to have second surgery.
Oh.
So we just, on behalf of the citizens of Oldsmar, we just want to, once again, in our prayers, it's very close to home. We look out and want well and good for all of our first responders, the sheriffs, and all the different fire departments. But, Palm Harbor and Oldsmar share a union together, and so it's just really close to home. So it's just a reminder when you see those first responders on the side of the road move, move over, slow down. So anyhow, she's in our thoughts and prayers. So what do you got for questions, Deb? Any questions?
Let's see. We got a few. Let's see. Jason is asking about Oldsmar taking the time to fix its Little League fields that have been under-cared for over a decade. Well, and then I think there's another comment also. The baseball fields were the last to be taken care of, and the fields were taken away for BMX. So that's from Kathy as well.
Well, I know one of the issues that we've had out there was the number of participants they had. This goes way back, going back to the BMX. And I think we took a field that wasn't in use for parking at one time. I think
it was Field 5.
Yeah, and so that dates back a ways. I do know we had a conversation. I think we met with their Little League president either yesterday or the day before. I'm not sure which day it was. And work to resolve some of the issues that they're having out there. You know, this weather makes everything horrible. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the question becomes what's an acceptable field to play on and which is not.
Yeah.
And so I know that that's being worked on. That was the update I got on that, as a matter of fact, yesterday. So stay tuned. You know, I mean, that's all I could say at this point. I know it's getting the attention that it needs, and we want our Little League fields to be top-notch, and we want to support Little League the best we can. I know we've tried over the years to assist them, and, you know, they're like any other organization as well, and, you know, in a volunteer organization, it's always hard to have strong momentum, but they have had really strong momentum here as of late.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had really good volunteer you know, leadership in there that's made a big difference. So I would suspect that gets resolved. And, you know, if we need to invest more money in there, I'm sure that's what we'll put in the capital improvement budget and address it.
Wonderful. Oh, and then thank you, David. He just shared the link on the chat for the ABC Action News segment.
Yeah, so. All right. Thank you, David.
Cool. Right. I think, let's see. Anybody else? Last call.
Well, you know what that means?
Yeah.
My coffee's cold.
Mine too.
And so it's probably that time to go ahead and sign off. And I want to thank everybody for our citizen. Deb, thank you. Mark, behind the scenes always. Clearly we had sound today, so the curse has been broken. Wish you guys have an excellent day, and thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.